Hi, in this video I will show you how to put together this polar place house, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. Okay, with this one there's quite a bit of pieces. We have the main house, and then here's the stack for all the roof pieces. Believe me, it's not as overwhelming as it seems. I know it's, look at that stack. We have the base and the stairs, which I'm going to put, that's like the very last part. And then all the details, like the windows and little snow things, all the small pieces that I don't want to lose are in here. So we're going to start with, oh, and here's the panels, the front house panels. So we're going to go ahead and start with putting the panels on. So, and folding these. And the reason I pre-fold them, so I started folding them, but you kind of want to pre-fold them because it kind of helps you place the different panels. I mean, this, especially when it comes to these kind of things with the opening, it's easy. This is the wrong one, but once we get the right one, there's a smaller one. Those are easy because you have an opening to go by. But for that. But when it comes to the ones that don't have an opening, it could get difficult. And this just helps you see the edges. So I wish the color was showing as bright as it normally is, but it's not. Let me move this out of view so it doesn't get in our way. We also have internal panels too. But we'll go ahead, and this is the bottom piece, this is another bottom piece, so we're just going to put aside the pieces we don't need right now. This is the other side, so you can see how I'm folding it. Be careful because this looks like a tab, but it's not a tab. So be really careful when you fold them. And these are angled, so it kind of looks funky, but that's the shape of the house. We don't need this right now, but I'll go ahead and fold it on the tabs. I apologize for the color. The color's a little bit off. I was adjusting my camera, for some reason I can't get it to. Oh, we're not going to do this one yet. This is the chimney. We're going to leave that for the roof because it takes a little bit of folding. And that's the back, so we can just put that over there. There's one tab on that back piece, but we can hold off on that. This one is a tab. Can't see that fold, that score. So once we finish this one, we'll just go ahead and start with this one. So we can find the piece that looks like that. So I forgot to show you these. These are it's in the file, they're called vellum because most people use vellum for the windows. So when you put a tea light or fairy lights or something inside that, it will glow. Well, I've decided I'm going to use this fun acetate that I've had, foiled acetate. It's got little snowflakes on it. So I'm going to use it for this one instead of vellum, but you can use vellum. So just the application's the same, but this is called foiled vellum. It's clear and it just has little snowflakes on it. It's from Hunky Dory. It's a UK company. But a good friend of mine had it in her stash. She's passed away so a couple years back, and I was fortunate enough to get some of her cool stuff. And this is one of the things I've never used, so we're going to use those instead of vellum. So the reason I want to mention that now is because you have a couple options with the vellum or acetate if you use acetate. You can either stick them, so we have different sizes. It's going to be hard to see because they're clear. So I'm going to get the angles. So they're sized for each of the windows. So if I put them down here, hopefully you'll be able to see them here. There's 2 square ones. Those are for here. So you could sandwich them in there first, or you can put them on the back, so that's up to you. I like to have it clean, so if I do have the vellum, I would put that there first, or you can put it on the back of this. So let's just do that. So we're going to use that one. The bigger square ones are for the side windows with the shutters. It's kind of hard to pick up. The circular one is for this. So with these you can't see the snow as much, so I'm going to move them around. It's just the way it cut. So some snow will show through, but mostly you're just going to see the window covering anyways in frame. So these I'll put back over here, so I don't lose them. They're clear and we'll lose them. So we want to go ahead and just put a little glue around the edge. And be careful, especially if you're using, well, either vellum or acetate. It spreads out, and you don't want it to go into the area that you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go wide. And the reason I like to do it this way, if I can, and the way I built these panels are these the same exact size as this opening. So if it weren't the same exact size, I would probably have to put it on the back. But this way, it kind of sandwiches around. And then it kind of hides it. Then you don't have to hide it in the back. But I do have some optional internal panels that you can use. So that's that. What's nice about this, okay, so if you do it this way, here's the drawback. So I'm going to tell you this, because I'm using acetate, it works really well because I can see through. But if you use vellum, okay, you want to be able to see through to be able to match these up. But if you use vellum, it's going to be hard to see because it'll be obscured. So you can kind of see when you flip it over and watch the edges if you have vellum, but it'll be harder for you. Okay, so I wanted to explain that. I sometimes even put the vellum this way, so it's just matching it up on the back. But if you just want to slap it together and not have to be able to struggle with seeing it, so I'm just matching these edges up. So before you really get it down, you can go like this. Make sure that all the edges match up there. But, you know, it's up to you. Everybody's an individual. If they want to do it faster, maybe that's easier for them. So whatever's easier for you, I like to have multiple ways, and I like to show people multiple ways. So the same thing here. Let's find the one that goes there. So it's this one. It's the biggest one. So if you had the vellum, don't do that. If you had the vellum and you wanted to, you could always put that on there and put it back here. So that's an option. So you'll probably notice, well, you might not, it's so subtle, but I did ink the edges with like a similar color ink. That same friend that passed away was very generous. This supplied me with a lot of chalk ink. So, I mean, when I say a lot, a lot. So I've given away a lot of it. But it's chalk ink that you don't find in the stores that often. It's from, quick quotes, which I used to go to scrapbooking shows. Oops, I forgot to put that in there. Okay, don't do that. So this is my first blooper, hopefully the last. But I used to go to a lot of craft shows with a couple of my friends. And we discovered Quick Quotes, and they have these. You've probably seen them, powder puffs. I like the color box a little bit better. That color box is no longer being made. The company went out of business. So I'm going through these, but they're falling apart now, some of them. But this was the perfect color to edge it. Let's see what the color was. Tahiti. So it's a company that's in business. It's just sometimes you can't find their products very easily. But it's Quick Quotes if you want to check them out. I don't really have a link, but I can put the information below in the video or on the product description. So we'll continue doing the same thing. We're just going to put the acetate and then the panel. So you can watch me finish these last couple, and then we'll move on. So you can see I got that on here. I had a little minor glue bottle jam, so I had to fix that. And you see I finished all those up. And then this last panel, it just centers. Just like that back one, it just centers on there. So we'll just add that. And everything we're putting the panels on because it's just quicker. Easier when you're working with gravity instead of against gravity. So you can see I'm just centering it, and that's why folding it helps to eyeball where it goes. So I was a little bit off. So just be careful with the glue that you use and know how long you have until it dries. So next what we'll do, we'll put those aside. We'll put them to the right with the bases. And we'll take these little pieces. So let me just wipe this. I have little glue particles here. So these are all the little pieces, the windows. So this piece has a couple things we had to put together. So we're going to piece together the things we need to piece together. And so we'll just take out what we need, and then we'll go from there. So we have this little empty one, so we'll just swap it from one to the other, the ones we don't need. So we need these, so I'm just waiting for this mat to dry here. So we're going to take all the windows out, and the pieces that go with the windows. So we have two of those. Those are different shapes. Those are for the... those come with this, so we'll leave that. That's for the chimney. We're going to use the doors. So I'm just going to dump it out. Let me just pull out what we don't need. So we're going to put all these little snow things here. We need those. Be really careful about, you don't want to lose them. So these were print and cut, so there's a little bit of a white edge, which actually worked out for me. I could have printed again, but I print and cut without bleed on a silhouette. That's what you get. So those go with those. Same thing here. So we have all these pieces. These are all the windows. So once we get them together, we'll just glue them to the panels. So the only thing that we didn't need really was this little piece, which is goes on the chimney. So we're going to put that to the left. So we have all these. Sure, we get started here. So the simpler ones, let's go ahead and get those out of the way. So these just take a little work right here. So we'll just put all those pieces up there. And we'll just do these little ones right here. So let's do this door. So this door is just going to go like this. So you want there to be a little border on the inside. See that little border on the inside? So don't worry that it doesn't match up at the bottom. That's actually intentional for the steps, for the clearance of the steps. Let me get this up a little bit centered here. So there should be a little bit of gap at the bottom. I'm just kind of scooching it, so it's a little bit up. I could have pulled it down, but I did that on purpose because those steps will kind of go like up to here, right below. So that's the door. Oh, these are all the easy ones we want to do. So let's get the pieces for these. So you just have to sift through these and find the pieces that go with them. So this is that. These are angled, these two little ones. So look for the angled pieces. And then those two are the bigger ones go with these up there. And then there's a big and a small. So all we're going to do is put those on there. So let me go ahead and do that, and then you can just watch, and then we'll go on to this one. So as you can see, they all have some extra glue on my fingertips, but they all kind of line up at the bottom here. So, and they're all different shapes. So we have all those windows. Put those up there. I'm gonna wash my fingertips off a little bit with that dried glue. So let's pull this down right there. So the way this goes is, first of all, I decided to put dash scores in this, just so you wouldn't have to prep any. Some machines obviously have to prep the lines, like Cricut. So this just, we're just going to fold it a little bit forward, or you can keep it flat too. That's up to you. But it's meant to be folded. So we're going to go ahead and add this, and this is slightly smaller than this top piece here, and then we're going to add this on top like that. So angle it on, and you can see that little white mark. That was from the print and cut. If you can see it, you may not be able to see it that well. My lighting in this video is not as good as regular. Let me go ahead and zoom in. Okay, that should be better. So now, I mean, the light's a little bit off still, but you can see what we're doing here. So what you're going to do is, actually the better way to do it is to glue this, and don't put that much, it just came out a little fast on me. Just really light, this is where a fine tip applicator comes in handy. Put a little dot right there. So you're going to do this with all these pieces. Might be easier to not be fumble finger like me. Kind of put it down here and just kind of drop it. It is a little bit smaller, so. And then we'll place it like that. And the reason I did it that way, so if you do flip it out, you'll see the white, but if you had a double-sided cardstock, you would see the cardstock color. And I did ink the edges, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish these and put all these together. So we're just going to layer this and then put these last pieces on, and then we'll go ahead and put them on the actual box. So now that we have these together, so you can see they're all together, we just have to find where they go on the box. So we're going to take this one first. So we need one of these. So these are the same shape on both sides. So that goes there, and then that is the smaller one. That'll just line up right there. So I'm going to put glue, just a couple dots of glue in the middle just to adhere it to that acetate, but I want to be really careful. So if you prefer not to do that, that's okay too, just as long as I start at the bottom, line it up. Because if you just move it a little bit, that glue in the middle is going to show. So sometimes my thing gets a little clunky or gunked up at the end and gets a little bit harder, so I'm not going to glue those right now because my back portions are white. I might just pop them up with a little bit of foam tape rather than glue them. So I'm just lining that up to the opening. So I did print and cut because I was trying to match it up with this colors. So what you can do is, here's foam tape. I didn't want to use them on the scissors, but I'll have to clean them afterwards. So I can just click that right there. Or you can have them just flip out. So I'm just gonna, I want to have dimension, but I don't really want the backs to show because they're white. So it kind of pops them off a little bit, if you can see that. So that's a good way to do that. So this is the same. So more the same. If you do like this video, please give me a little thumbs up below. Always appreciate that. And or subscribe to our channel. So let's go ahead and put that on first. I won't take that backing off until I get that middle piece. So I made them the same shape to make it easy on both sides, even though this side is taller than the other side. So this house is meant to be kind of wonky looking. My inspiration was kind of like Whoville from Grinch. But of course I can't make exactly that, or even call it Whoville. So here's my interpretation of my own look. So that's all the curvy, and so I gave them little cute names. This in another house. This is what, Polar Palace. I haven't been giving my designs names, and I thought it gets kind of old just saying winter house, so it's kind of a winter fantasy house all in one. Here's the last one. So make sure you know which one goes where, so they're both angled like that. And this will match up with this. And I already added the acetate or vellum, so I don't have to worry about that. So we're just going to place them in these sections. And then we'll go ahead and start assembling the house. So at this point, we have some internal panels. If you wanted to add and make it like really fancy on the inside so nobody could see most of the tabs, and I say most because there's one tab you can't do that, you could add these inside. So just glue them in. So the reason I'm going to say that, you want to do these two at least. So we're going to put together, so if you have vellum on the inside and you don't want it to be seen, honestly you're not going to see this inside anyways because the way it folds. But if you want to cover it, we have inside panels. I would put them in at this point, because we're going to start folding up these two pieces. So they're slightly smaller than these, and they have the hole, so you just match them up. So I'm not going to put them in myself. They go down. I could have flipped them around so we had the texture, but really it's all about covering any of the mess inside if you have it. Because some will prefer to do that because you can't see the vellum to match it very well. But anyways, with that said, let's go ahead and put these together. So these are going to go together, so make sure these are scored well, or folded well on the scores. And we're going to go ahead and just move this out of the way. We're going to start here. So we're going to add glue to these two tabs. So we're going to go start there, line this edge up right here. And we're gluing that tab on the inside. And then I'm just kind of making sure it's in place before I fold this down and line this up. And just be careful of getting any glue on the outside or on the windows or anything like that. I haven't used acetate on windows before. I kind of like it. And of course the snow theme was perfect. It's just subtle enough for this little thing. So the other thing I did before we go any further is I folded this, because the next thing we'll do is we'll attach this, but I folded it in and then out. So we'll go ahead and put that aside. Do the other one similarly, it's just bigger. I'm going to go like this. Oops, I didn't fold that one yet, so make sure they're folded before you start. So I found that after putting this box together a couple times, or this house, the bottom part, that this was the better way to go compared to what I was doing. Before here. So those are the two sides. So now we're going to take, not this piece yet, that's the front piece. We're going to attach this. Actually, we'll do that last. I have to remember how I did this, that's why I was... So this is the front, this is the back. So this will glue right here. And we're doing this reason for a reason. So let me go ahead and make sure that I'm in the viewpoint here. So we're going to add glue to this tab. And we're going to line this left edge up to the tab fold. Don't go over the fold. Just go over up to it. Get it in place like that. And once you get it in place, you can flip it over and just gently add pressure right there. You have to be careful of that bend, but you see how it's going to go like that. So we're going to do the thing on the other side the same. So I know it's a little awkward, but it's the shape of the box. I did it a different way and it was a little harder. Didn't get that lined up right. So I just get it lined up and then I can flip it over, apply pressure. You see it's coming together. So you want to make sure those are good and dry before you move on. So now that those pieces are together, it's like that. We're just going to attach this. So we're just going to line this piece to the edge here. So we'll complete that front piece. And then we'll combine the two. There's only a couple places in here that it gets a little bit dicier, and it's not that it's like horrible, but so now you can see why we wanted to put those panels inside there. You don't want to do anything here yet. But you could go ahead and add a panel here and here. Well, you can't do it here yet. We can't do it here. So we want to wait, and you might have to reach in to do the rest of the panels if you want to do that at all. So that's up to you. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So this is why we want to make sure that we have these folded back. So the way this is going to go, let me show you on one side. This is going to glue on the inside like that, and then it goes like this. Then that goes underneath like that. It really isn't as hard as it looks. So I found it easier to do this part first. So let's go ahead and add the glue on this. So it's just a little bit cumbersome because we're kind of dragging the whole thing around. So let's go ahead and fold that back for now. So I have glue on that. I'm just going to slide it in here. I'm folding it in so I can get this little edge right in there, and then also I'm pushing up to make sure that it's lined up at the bottom. Okay, so I'll show you in a minute. Once you get it in there, you want to, so you can see how it's lined up inside. And you can, wherever you can do it flat, you want to do it flat. And that's one place we can do it flat. So this is not that difficult. What we want to do is flip it on the other side. Kind of reach this up. And we're just going to flip it in. I want to do it from this angle so I can get benefit of my dominant hand. So I'm flipping it up and making sure that this edge kind of pushes in. So this one we can't get flat, so we have to get it in place and then apply additional pressure here with your fingers. So you can see how it's coming together here. So I had to zoom out for a little bit because it's getting a little bit too big for that view. So let's go ahead and do the other side the same way. I'm going to add glue to this tab. I'm going to fold this. I'm going to make sure it's folded up first. Fold that in. And I'm just lining it up. I'm pushing it up at the same time. So I'm pushing up this piece. At the same time, I'm pushing it kind of towards this right here to get this edge lined up. Let me see if I can get it flat. That one I can't get flat. Wherever you can find a flat, and then we'll just flip that under. I'm just going to reach in and add glue from the other side here to that tab. See the tab right there? And I'm not too disappointed if I have a little bit of glue on the top here. So I'm not going to worry about that because I have a panel that's going to go up there. I'm worried about placement more so than anything. I just don't want the glue on this part, but if it gets on that part, it's okay. I have glue in my fingertips though. So once you get that on there, so I'm sorry this is the long part, but I want to do it slow so you can see how it is. So you could use this house, as you can see, probably as a haunted house too. So other things, you can make it more like a spring house too. I wanted to make something that you could use for different purposes. So the only thing that's difficult right now is that now we have these last ones. So I meant to glue that at the beginning. But if you have a fine tip applicator, you can go ahead and you can try to go inside the box too. You should be able to fold it down and reach inside. And since I have this fine tip applicator, we'll just do it that way. And we'll just do this too. I'm having glue bottle issues. I went back to a different type of bottle temporarily and it's leaking, so after this segment the thing may go bye-bye because it's causing me way too much problems. So let's get this glue down before it dries. It's getting too much glue on my fingertips. So you just want to line it up carefully, get it in place. I'm kind of pushing it down to line it up. So reach in and push up against this, and I have a dog whining next to me. So I've got a glue bottle issues and a dog whining. I'm not sure why. So we'll take care of that that bottle, at least wipe it down so I can get through this video. Otherwise I have to fill another bottle, which will take me a while. I was having some problems filling the bottle I like. So I'll be right back. So for those that want to know, my dog wanted to be escorted outside. She didn't want to go to the bathroom by herself. So that's the story of my life. But that's good she asked me, rather than sometimes going in the house. She's 11 years old, so. And I had to make her bed. So we're doing the same on the other side. So start with that little edge. You can kind of do it all at once, but I just want to get them stuck a little bit. And then you can kind of, this last one, I should get this one in there. And it's kind of angled out at the top. So the nice part is you can put these flat and apply pressure on the inside. So that does make it easier. So my dog just knew that I needed a little break. I cleaned the bottle, but I'm not going to replace it for this video. I just can't find the exact fine tip applicator that works for me consistently. Okay, so now the top is open, which is nice. So if you have those other panels, you can go ahead and add the panels carefully inside before you put the bottom on, if you want to clean it up. So of course you're going to have to rub it on this side, but if you're okay with what it looks like in the inside without panels, then you don't need them. So that's why I call them optional. See, I'm okay with it because I basically am making it for myself at this point, so I'm not giving it to somebody. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to flip these up. So you see there's a little dot there. So here's two pieces. One has the dot on the left. I got that wet a little bit. So you can see that goes right there. And then the inside, it goes like that. So now she wants me to go to bed. We're not going to bed. So we're going to do the inside first. So this is the outside one. And then we want this to face on the inside, the texture. So thus the hole on the right hand side. So I'm going to go ahead. And I'm going to glue this to this edge right here. I'm going to flip it around so you can see it. So this edge, we're going to align this right here, making sure that this hole is on this side with this, where the hole is on this side. So we're going to go ahead and add some glue and hope that we don't have glue bottle malfunctions. See, I left the corporate world so I could do the videos because I'm the owner, designer, and all that fun stuff. I can make these videos informal if I'd like. I had enough formal through my years. So I'm carefully lining it up to the fold. You can kind of fold it up to make sure. And I can't show you on camera, but you can kind of see how it's like that. And then it's like that. You want to get as close as possible. You see I'm a little bit off, but pretty close. What it's going to do is create a finishing part inside, but also give us a little bit more stability. And not have to make it easier for us to add the bottom piece. So we just rotated it in. So let's start with this side. So I kind of pushed in a little bit, which is fine. going to go ahead and add glue to these tabs. Like this. So if you hear something whining, that's a dog sitting next to me. So we're going to go up to this. So what I normally would do, I'm just going to flip those over like that. I'm just going to reach in. This is where a tool will come in handy, by the way. But I can reach in. It's big enough for you to get your hand in. And I'm kind of pushing on the edge right here. And pushing on the edge in there. And the same thing to go around to match this up. So you might need to get it on top of it, which I'm doing. And making sure that that panel down there fits in the edge. Like that. And then we'll go on the bottom and see if they're nice and glued. So that was just, it's just the angle of that tab. Things are engineered pretty close, but I missed that tab angle, so I go around and I try to change the tab angle so they don't overlap. But I don't always see it. So we're just putting glue on the rest of the tabs. And we're going to go in order. So when I'm going to flip them in, and it doesn't really matter, we can just kind of push everything down like that. Flip it over. Then I'm standing up because I can't do it sitting down. And I'm going to start where I ended. Continue to go around every edge. Rotate it, push it in where the tab is. Rotate. And go around the edges and the inside. That's what it looks like. So it's nice and clean. And then that helped us put it on. What's nice is that that's flat on top. Then you can go ahead and add this piece. And other than additional embellishments, maybe some bling or enamel dots or gemstones, whatever you want to do to bling up. I need a doorknob, that's for sure. That finishes this, so that hole on that side doesn't have to match up. That hole's just an indicator of how to put that panel in, because one side is bigger than the other. I like it hanging out on the side, so try to get it as lined up as possible. I just didn't get that tab in enough. But it hides those imperfections. And it gives it another layer of stabilization. So here are all the remaining pieces for the inside panels. So if you wanted to add an inside panel, so this is the big part. You could just go ahead and line it, put it in there. Same thing for this, and then you just have to be careful of the holes when you put it in. I made them a little bit bigger. You can see that right there. So if you want to do that because you have the vellum inside, or if you use acetate. And the back one, it's just to hide those panels. So it's just like that. So that's all you can do in the back. So those are the inside panels and the extras folders. So let's go ahead and move on to the roof. So here are all the pieces for the roof. The roof pieces. These are the sides. So we'll do the sides really quick. Here's the chimney, and then of course that little piece on top. So let's do the sides, and then we'll go to the next. This is a little bit harder, and then this. So let's go ahead, and you can see it's folded. Now I'm only going to show you how to put together one of them, but I wanted to show you before I embossed it. So I cut it out and then I just embossed it. What I want you to be careful of if you decide to do this is it does compromise like the edges a little bit where the scores are, depending on how you score. So it might make it looser, but you can. And instead of putting an extra panel, this will be our panel on top. So normally I wouldn't do a piece like that and score it like that. But I decided to do that because it started cracking just a little bit right there. So just so you understand how that can happen. But that's because that's a little fold right there. So it's good. But it started kind of cracking a little bit. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to score this really quick. I mean, not score, emboss it. So if you don't know embossing folders, just kind of bringing this into view. I normally just do this before the video. It is a Kettle Bug. They no longer make them, and sorry for the shake. But I use big shots too. So what's cool about embossing folders is you can just put them in. Put them in their little formula. Run it through. I get a little shake. We'll get taken care of that in a minute. Just trying something new. And voila. It's embossed. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and move this and it might shake a little bit. So, if you don't have embossing folders, they are fun. One of my favorite things. So this doesn't bend at all those sides, just two bends like here. And they both go together the same way. You just have two little tabs on the side. So I'll show you how to put together one, and I'll put together the other one a little bit later. Before we add it to the house. So you just kind of go right under, line up that edge to the tab fold. I kind of use my finger as a guide, and then scooch it in. So it creates that little top piece. Make sure it's good and secure. So I'll go ahead and put that together in a minute, but let's go ahead and do this. So I already folded these. So these have numbers on them, and they're cut, but I wrote on them so you can see them, because they have to be put on in order because of the nature of the sway of this. It's not a uniform shape. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the tab, so that it should cut by default on your machine unless you set them to score, but as long as you know which ones are which, and that's why it's in there. And these are going to go on afterwards, so I emboss them, but you might want to, I'm kind of doing it around the edge. I'm actually rolling it on the edge of my table to get them trained to curve them a little bit. So I already did these, but since I ran them through what's nice about an embossing folder, it's good and bad. It weakens it a little bit, but it makes it more pliable. So we're going to take these, start with number 1. And if you're new to this, what you'll want to do is make sure everything's folded, obviously. And fold those 3 in and just put glue on that top one. This is not the best video to start with. I mean, best project is a newbie, so this will take a little practice, so don't get frustrated. So we're going to line up that first section. So this is the tab up here, but we're going to line this right into that section, right up this edge to the tab fold. And we're going to anchor it there. So with time, it won't be as hard to do this if you're new to this process. You anchor it, and then you can flip it over, which is nice. And add glue to these other 3 tabs. And then we're going to go one by one. But as time goes on, so we want to go in order. So top, let me just finish this first, and then I'll tell you my next thought. So you just line it up, and I'm just kind of using my finger to know that they're lined up. And all the tabs are glued on the inside like that. So what I was trying to say is that as time goes on, it gets easier to do these things. So you won't like 4 tabs is not a lot, so you can do them all at once. Or you continue to just do the one, get it anchored. If you're new, that's what I would do. Or if you have trouble with this, then you want to anchor the first one, get it in place, get it exactly where it needs to be, and then go to the remaining ones. So I'm going to make sure I have number 3. I'm going to line it up. So I'm going to do it all at once. I'm still going to anchor it. But I know how long my glue can take. I'm just making sure those tabs are folded in so they don't get glued on the inside before I'm ready. So now I'm going to go down. So if you do it too quick, that first tab will pull. And then we get number 4. And number 1 is the front. So that's how we know which one's the front. And it helps us place that middle panel that we're going to place. But if you tried to do these out of order, I'm not sure what it would look like. Because all the tabs are slightly different sized for these little sections, depending on how it angles. So, and the last one. So what's nice about this is that we have the ability to really reach in and do everything without having to worry about the top being closed or anything. And that's why, I mean, I have the option to add the top, attach it, pre-attach it, but it makes things like this so much harder to do. Okay, so you see 1, 2, 3, 4. All is right in the world. So now we're going to take these. We're not going to put the top on yet because we need to be able to reach inside to help us attach these. So now we're going to match them up. They're all different. So you kind of have to find the one that goes with it. So make sure you kind of curl it a little bit. And once you find the right one, I did that on purpose, by the way. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Something extra for you to do. So we're going to glue it on. We're going to line it up. You can line it up on the top first and go down, or you can line it at the bottom and go up. That's up to you. If you do it from top down, we're going to line it up right below that fold right there. And then you'll get it attached here and go down. That might be easier. So you want to make sure it's curled a little bit. I'm going to put it on this one this time. And I'm just going to put it on the bottom. So we're going to do different methods so you can test to see what works better for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go from the top always, but I'm going to show you how to put glue on 2 different ways. Oops. So I'm trying to line it up right below it. Try not to get too, I have glue on my fingertips. So once you get that top anchored, you can kind of rub it down, and it gives it a smooth look. That's the reason for the panels. So I pushed it down just a little bit, but you can't really see that. As it kind of meets at the bottom, if you're a little bit off, it kind of gets a weird effect anyways. And then the embossing helps. So now let's see if I picked the right one. I did. So, or you could go like this. Put it on here, which might be easier just in case you drop things like I do. Put it around the edge there. You really don't need it. I just do a little bit right there. If you wanted to, you could just do really light in the middle, but you really need the top and bottom will be sufficient. So I'm going to line it up. Just make sure you have the right panel for the right side. Just didn't have it centered. It's just an awkward position to have your hand in. My hands are so dry. Look at that. Just make sure you get around the edges here. And if you need to, you can take a little, go get a little glue in there. You can either do it with your tip or you can put it on a piece of paper. Since I'm not using these inserts, you can kind of get it. You could always put glue on a piece of paper. Push it in. So I'm going to put these last two on and then we'll continue. I'm going to put these last two and I'll put this other piece together and then we'll put the rest of it together. So you can see that embossing, it really, you could always put plain paper, but just kind of dresses it up. So let's just really quick just take these two since I already have them. One side's bigger. Look at that. So this is going to go right here. Make sure the right places. So this one on the left kind of hangs off a little bit more. So you can kind of, what you want to do is you can kind of glue it down. You can let it hang down a little bit. What I wanted, how I like to do it, or how I've done it, is just add glue here. Because we're going to want to get it towards this edge. So make sure you can see what I'm doing. And I just want a little bit to touch here, so I'm just going to go right here. You can have it flare out. It doesn't need to do the sides. I just like it that way. So I'm just going to get it in place. Center it. I just don't like it flaring too far much on the sides. Oops. It's a little bit bigger, so you can try to center it. And you can lift, you can reach in too. See how it kind of dresses it up. So I have that one kind of going a little bit further off. The whole point of this house is that it's not supposed to be conventional. So I'm just adding glue to this side. And this time what I'll do is I'll just add a little glue on the insides right here. That'll be easier then. So you can kind of look around, see what it looks like for you. Instead of reach in, get it set in place. So kind of that topsy-turvy feel. So one of those roof panels, that left one, was not the correct shape, so I did end up tearing it off and replacing it. So I was carefully tearing it off, and then I just had to redesign what wasn't quite looking right. So if you noticed the difference, here it is replaced, and now the left one, it was a minor difference, but it's something that was noticeable. But if you were paying attention, some people may have been. That's why it looks slightly different. So let's go ahead and put this in. So this only goes one way. Well, actually, it can go either way, but if you go the other way, the tab still won't show. So you could have, so it's going to be a chimney, but the way that it's structured, we want it to go to the right. So here's number 1. Number 2. So the chimney side right here, that short side, is number 2. And this is number 1. So it's the front. So what we want to do is anchor this. We're going to glue this on top. Then we'll go ahead and add glue to all other tabs. And we're just going to line it up. And then what's nice is that we can reach inside. So we just want to make sure that we line up the edges best we can. The tabs. So once you get them in place, you go ahead and reach in and apply pressure like that. So once we get the chimney in, a little bit of a gap right there, but that's okay. Once we get the chimney in, we'll cover it with this. So let's do the chimney. Let me put that aside so our camera focus doesn't go off. That happens. So we have this piece, and I already folded 3 sides, but what I want to show you is how it folds. So this is probably the most kind of picky, hardest one to fold. So you want to fold it like that. You want to fold everything in a mountain fold. So there's a little fold there, and then a little one there, a little one to start, okay? Then we fold those little tabs down. So this top first one's mountain fold. Then this one right there. So 1, 2, the 1, 2, 3rd score line in, it's going to go like this. So let me show you an example. So this is kind of what it's going to look like, kind of. So you see how it's straight coming down, and then it folds in. And then these, the bottom tabs, you're going to want to fold backwards. So you want to fold naturally that way, then back the other way. And that'll help us when we have to glue it on the inside. So it's really not as hard as it seems. So we're going to just start anywhere. I would actually add glue to all the tabs and very carefully to those little ones. So I realize this is teeny. So you're going to fold this over, kind of all in one fell swoop. Kind of getting straight here, then angled there, and just reaching in, and then lined up there. The other way you can do it, just folding all, I'm just folding them all in. Get it lined up on that top one, and then line it up on the bottom one, and then kind of scooch that angled one into place. If you have to cut 2 of these to practice, I would suggest you do that. So I'm just going to fold this over, because that's kind of a rectangular, so I'm kind of just getting my finger in there. It's hard to see on camera, I get it. I wanted a specific shape, and I tried a couple shapes, but I still didn't want it to be like a simple like hexagon or just a square. I wanted a little shape to it, so I decided, even though it would be probably a little difficult for people, for some people, that we would go ahead and I would go ahead with the shape anyways. Had to get excess glue off the tip of my glue. So it really isn't, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's that bend that is the hardest part to get lined up. Oopsie. Of course, I forgot to fold those in, so I had to disconnect it. So fold this last end. I forgot we were at the close spot. So now I have to do it again. Fortunately, there's enough glue to close it. So you'll just have to reach in. So I put way too much glue on that. What we're going to do is let it kind of come out here. So you can always start at that big piece because that's the easiest piece and work your way up and kind of just push it in. Just as long as you have it folded correctly, you should be able to push it into place. It's just getting pressure behind it. There we go. I'm just making sure everything's secure. So there it is. So you can go ahead and just glue this on there. So it is square. So we're just going to add glue to these edges here. I believe it's squared. I just need to make sure. Just make sure that middle lines up. And you just want to gently make sure that they line up on the edges. It's a really small piece, so. So now we're going to take this little piece right here. And we're going to want to flip those in there. Then we're going to glue these tabs to the inside. So we just take a little bit of glue on one. Just make sure you push it all the way in so at least it goes to the fold. So we want to make sure that this fold goes all the way in so it matches up with this edge right here. So I'm just folding the tab over like that. And then we'll do that for the one across from it. And then the last two tabs. And then all you have to do is add this to cover those, just right in the center there. It's slightly smaller than the space. So when somebody just lifts the lid, you don't see that hole. I mean, if you want to keep the hole, you don't have to put this on there, but it just covers everything. So now you can see the actual house. So you could have it like this, but you kind of want the stairs because the stairs will rise up to here. So you could make just the stairs, but we're going to go ahead and make the base with the stairs just like we have it, just to kind of give it a finished look. And then I can put a little smoke and maybe add some embellishments. So here's we got through all the hard parts and everything's square. So let's go ahead. I just took this, it's like a shimmery paper. We're going to do the two steps. So this is the bottom one and that's the top one. So the top one's super easy to put together. This one's not that bad, but because it has a little bit of a shape, it can be a challenge. And this is really thick is it Shimmer? It's like Shimmer cardstock. I don't even know the brand. I've had it for so long. So I'm just going ahead and fold on all the scores. And you're going to want to go ahead and glue this on the inside. So anything that has kind of like a metallic or shimmery takes a little longer to glue. So I'm just going to line that up right up to that tab fold, the edge. You see that? As I angled it, it moved a little bit. No good deeds are ever... by the way, I'm not good at sayings. You can laugh, but it's true. I can get halfway through one of those sayings and then I forget what the words are, so oh well. So one, we can reach in and guide it, because we're going to guide it in here. So we're going to go ahead and add glue to the tabs. And it does take longer, like I said, for this, any kind of paper with a sheen or metallic coating on it. Well, that's why I like wet glues, because once you get it in place, typically it'll stay, but it just takes longer for this. So I'm just going to go around, just going to fold it down. I gotta get my finger in there. I'm so right-handed. Gonna kind of squish it around here. And if you want, you can fold those down and put it on the table. Fold the other tabs underneath to make it easier for you to guide and shape it. Before it dries. So now I'm just going to reach in and apply pressure on those tabs. It's not perfect, but it's good. And what's nice is that if this edge doesn't go right up, for some reason you're a little off, that top step's going to be there anyways. So the only part that's going to show is right here. So now, let's go ahead and add glue. So make sure these are a little bit up, because now we don't have the benefit of putting our hands in there to apply pressure from the other side. So I'm going to add glue right up to the edge, being careful not to get it past that edge, because we don't want to get glue that we can't get rid of on this nice paper. This is really thick paper too. This has got to be, I think, 100 pounds or more. It's so thick. Good for cards. So I'm just going to place it over lightly and then go around the edges, kind of push in on one side, go on the other side. So I just kind of place it lightly so I can get those edges pushed in and lined up. Then we'll just go ahead and apply pressure on the tabs, and then you can flip it over and do that. So you can make these, I think in the file I made them a different color. So you want to get really colorful, you could find another color that coordinates with the other colors that are on the box. So with going out of my comfort zone, I think I said this earlier with the colors, this color scheme is not my normal color scheme. It's completely different, so it was a challenge. Normally with the winter I'll go with the typical blues, whites, purple, kind of light purple lavenders, and dark blues, and the blues, whatever. So that's folded like that. So what I would suggest is starting from this side right here. Let me go to the angle of the camera here. So I put fold those in. It won't be as hard with the regular cardstock if you're using regular cardstock. I'm just going to fold that like that, square it off, and lining it up on the left and on the top. I'm going to get my thumb out of the way so you can see it, just like that. And we're going to do that on the other side as well. And then we'll just fold over the last side on the tabs. Where I scored it, because I cut the score on this, it's kind of parting a little bit, but that happens. So let's go. I'm just going to try to reach in on this one, do the other side. And then we go ahead and just fold these over. Again, don't fold them all the way in. You want them up a little bit so it'll grab it, because we have nothing to apply pressure from the other side. So we're just going to gently push these down so we can get them adhered and line them up, similar to what we did the other one. Honestly, the other one was a little bit easier with this thick paper that I'm using. With thick cardstock. It's a little bit difficult. So I would just flip it over, find out which is the best side, and that's the one you'll want up. So it'll be like this. So let's go ahead and get together the base, and that'll be what leans up. Let's just, you can see it from the top. I can't see it very well, but from the top, and we'll see it. I'll take a sideways shot once we get the base done. So we have these two pieces, big pieces, and these side pieces. Normally I would do all the side pieces separate, but I decided to try something different. I have to just make sure that I score in the right place though. So this is what I do when it's really thin to score. I only did this because to make it easier to attach one side. So normally I don't do that. I like to try something different every once in a while. Like you get used to the same old thing that you do every single time and how you build it. And I always wonder whether there's a better way to build it. I'm not quite convinced yet that this is the way to do this, but I still try because I think that we all can continue to learn and grow and fine-tune our skills. It's kind of hard to see it when you're, so look carefully. This is why it would be hard to use something like a Cricut score tool unless you were able to score it multiple times, run over it multiple times and make it deeper so you can get a good fold. So the way this goes is this will go right here, and this attaches to that. So what we're going to do is just attach these all together. So let me flip it over so the texture sides up. The way I made these is so that you could identify that two of them are the same size. One thing when you design, I don't know if anybody really cares other than making them, but for those that might, when you're designing something or when I'm designing something, I have to think of, I make a lot of changes based on what I think would be easier, and of course it's from my perspective, so I'm doing the other one on the other side. Because I put these together sometimes multiple times. If you see some of my test objects, they're basically, they look like Frankenstein projects because pieces have been torn apart and put back on, just trying to see if I could fit things. Sometimes I'm more successful than other times, but that's okay. So this is always a process, the design process. Because there is software, but honestly, I used to use some software that would help me, and if the question comes up, how do you do this? It's multi-step process, and it's not just, there is not just one software that will help you. You have to know math and a lot of stuff like that. So I've used more math in the last years of this business than I've used in a lot of years. I used to use analytics, but I used Excel a lot, so. And angles and geometry. Geometry was my worst math course too. So we're going to go ahead and glue this together. I know you don't want to hear me rambling. So usually I can do this flat, so I'm just having a hard time getting the right foot. Oh, it's because we have they're not the same size. So when you have octagons, hexagons, they have same sides, then you can flat like that, but I forgot I made this a special shape. Or a square or rectangle. So now this is, the difference is this is already attached. Like normally in this process I only have sides and I attach this. Well, this is already attached, so you don't have to do that. So what we're going to do is to go around, so we're just going to do a couple at a time. The other side we'll have to put on pretty much all at once, the way we did the other ones, but bigger. So we're just going to go ahead and line this up. And I'm only doing a couple at one time so I can get in and I just get it set where it needs to be. And then I can flip it over and add additional pressure. Boy, that was slow-mo for today. So let me do the other side. The reason I'm doing this side first is because this is the front. So if you're going to get anything not right, but if you want to get it as matched as possible, this is the most visible area. I mean, we all strive to get it right all the way around, but there is no perfection in crafting. My opinion, you're always off by just a little bit. So same thing. And then the last one, you can flip it up and go inside like that, or you can try to reach in from the other side. Just be careful making sure all the other sides, the adjacent sides, are already dry enough. And just making sure I get a good coverage on that. And just making sure I line it up as best I can. Then we can go like that. So I didn't fold that tab very well. That happens. For some reason it happens a lot with me on black paper and white paper. So let's go ahead and attach this tab only. The largest tab to anchor it. So I'm just lining it up. Like that. And these you'll probably want to do all at once. We're going to do it like we did the smaller items. I'm just kind of getting the glue close to the edges. Make sure the glue is nice and wet. And I'm just getting towards the edges, but it's not too close. So we could do it kind of a one fell swoop, but you kind of want to give both sides. And if you have to stand up, I'm going to stand up and do this so I can see where the edges are going, because you really can't see it very well when you're sitting down. So I didn't get it perfect, but pretty close. So what I'm going to do is call this, so whatever's the best side, just select that as your top. You don't want to push down too much because you know, it's hollow. So if you can see from the top, you can't really see it that well, but you can see there's a slight edge around. So it was just meant to be kind of a display, and kind of so you can see it from the front, from the top first. So that's from the top, spatially what it kind of looks like. I know it's a little bit off center there, but so I'm going to give you a front shot of it right now. So this is the front view. We just need to finish it off by gluing those two stair pieces together and then gluing the house onto the base. So as it rotates, you'll see how I put it on there. So you just put a little bit of glue on the bottom and apply just slight pressure to glue it to the base. And that'll finish it off, and any other embellishments you might want to add to the front, or the front of the windows, or on the base, on the bottom of the base to the right and left of the stairs. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you for watching.